All right, welcome to the Clemson Insider as we're coming to you live from Amelia Island as ACC spring meetings. As you can see this guy next to me, I'm sure you're all familiar with this guy, Clemson head coach Brad Brownell. And, Coach, a lot of things going on this week. You guys are going to try to get in a couple days and try to, I don't know if you resolve everything, but you at least have everything up on the table and everybody will have their thoughts in. One of the things that's I think you guys are going to talk about is the new transfer rules that are going to affect football and men's basketball. Can you talk to me about that, and what are your thoughts on it? I've heard from Dabo, I've heard from Dan. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think there's any of us or many of us in coaching that like the idea of young people being able to transfer and be eligible immediately. I just think that no matter what happens in a 4-year career, at some point you're going to run into some adversity. It's not going to always go the way you want. I think sometimes we're making it too easy to just give up, give in, and go somewhere else. Obviously, the thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about in our business that's going to happen is there's also going to be, all of a sudden, you're going to be recruiting off each other's rosters. Mm-hmm. And that's not good. That's just not what this was set up to be. It'll create, I think, a ton of animosity amongst coaches. I think it will be extremely difficult to have positive relationships with other coaches because they're going to become strained with this process. And it already happens a little bit with the fifth-year transfers, and I understand that part of the rule, and I respect the fact that if a kid graduates and wants to go somewhere else, he should have that opportunity. Having been a mid-major coach and a guy that had some really, really good players, there's no way that you would keep those guys, especially if they don't have to sit out. You're going to lose any good freshman or sophomore player that you have to a place like Clemson or Duke or North Carolina at any time. And so now it would really drastically change recruiting. I don't even know, whether you would need to recruit that many high school kids anymore as you just keep recruiting off college rosters. So. Mm-hmm. I don't really like that part of it, but, certainly wait to hear a little bit more about what some other folks are saying when we meet.
Do you think it's a rule that'll get passed? I mean, it seems to be so many coaches opposed to it. I can't imagine that it'll get approved.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything has become very pro-student athlete, and I understand the whole idea of, doing more things for student athletes, and I'm for most of it. All the things that we've done with stipends and even some extra days off, I think have been good things. I'm not really for paying players, and I don't know where it's going to go. I think I think the law's involved, and the courts are going to be involved, and so I think that's got a lot of people scared. And so I think we're going to have to wait and see what they say.
You also had a couple of. Speaking of transfers, you got a couple that you guys announced. You got Bear from UNC Asheville, and you got White coming in. Talk about those two young men and what they can bring to the program.
Yeah, Javen White, special young man, graduated college in 3 years from Oral Roberts. Big athlete, 6'10", 230 pounds, really bouncy. We think is going to be a great fit for us in our front court, play a couple different positions. And especially the fact that he's got 2 years and can play right away. He's almost like taking a junior college guy that you would have for 2 years, which is rarity with a graduate transfer. So to have him in our program for 2 years and get a chance to work with him this first year and develop, get used to what we're doing, play with Elijah, play with Amir, I think will be really good for him. Elijah will obviously be graduating next year and have a chance to kind of step into that role as a starting center as a senior, and I think that was a huge pickup for us. Jonathan Bear, I think we just view as a guy who's got very good upside, great talent, 6'9", 200 pounds. Certainly want to try to work to get 20 pounds of muscle on him in the next year. He does have to sit out, so he will become extremely good friends with Mike Bewley, our strength coach, and I think that will be good for him. But what excites us about JB is his ability to shoot the ball. He can make threes. He has very good length and was starting to play his best basketball at the end of his career at UNC Asheville.
Kind of go off of that. Do you have anybody else you want to add? I mean, you had 3 spots available. You got 2. Anybody else you're looking at, or are you going to hold? What are you going to do?
We're just kind of seeing what's going on right now, okay. To be honest with you. Certainly some of it could depend on whether we know 100% for sure whether Shelton and Marquise are coming back, and we don't know that yet. I'm sure that will be one of your questions, but that'll probably take another week, maybe 2 weeks, I would guess, in that process. Certainly, if we would lose one or both of those guys, I would anticipate we would probably be in the market for another player. If they both come back, I think we feel like we can go with the group that we have. Those guys for certain. A.J. Oliver will be a sophomore that gave us some good minutes late. Really feel good about John Newman out of Greensboro Day, a guy that won 3 state championships, very good athlete. Clyde Trapp, another sophomore with a little bit of experience. And then Hunter Tyson is a guy that can kind of bounce around between the 3 and the 4 at 6'7", 205, 210 pounds. So I feel like we kind of have it covered. I'm not saying we wouldn't entertain the idea if the right guy came into place, but we're not just going to try to sign somebody to sign somebody.
Last month, the commission report came out, the state of basketball and things they like to see changed and things like that. We kind of talked a little bit about that with the transfer, but there's a whole lot of other stuff in there too. And I know it's kind of scared a lot of coaches in a way because how much drastic it could change the game of basketball. Your thoughts on that, and what do you think might happen with this report as you guys move forward and try to fix the things they want fixed?
Well, I think right now it's too early to tell, and it's hard to have comments that are productive because you don't know what you're really talking about in terms of what we're going to see. Is the NCAA capable of taking over summer recruiting and eliminating some of the shoe companies and trying to get that under one umbrella and make it more organized and all those kinds of things? Maybe. That's a big undertaking. I know that some folks are disappointed that there wasn't more of a model that looked to pay the players. I'm actually good with that right now. I think it's really a wait-and-see mode. I certainly like the idea of harsher penalties for rule breakers. I don't think that's been done enough, and there's not enough to curtail the interest in recruiting good players, the wrong way. And so I'm for that. But I think there's still a lot more to wait and see. There's still a lot more to come out from the FBI. But I'm anxious to see, kind of what's going to be next in this next, 12 to 24 months. I think will be a critical time in college basketball.
Last year you guys made it to the Sweet 16, finished third in the ACC standings, the best years in probably 2 decades for Clemson. You got a lot of guys coming back, but you got 2 question marks that you said you're still waiting on. How good could this basketball team be next year, especially if you do get Reed and Mitchell back?
I think we have a chance to have a really good team. I'm very optimistic about our chances of those guys returning and then our future. But I think we do have to be mindful of the fact that we lost, really 4 good players and 2 outstanding players in Dante Grantham and Gabe DeVoe. I mean, Gabe just couldn't be more proud of the development of a young man than Gabe. I thought his senior year was about as good as anyone in his position could have. Really just a lot of hard work, development, growth, work with our staff, and he was playing at an unbelievably high level at the end of the season. Dante, obviously, the first 2/3 of the season was playing at all conference levels. So those are two very good basketball players that we're losing. Mark Donnell and David Scara, just 2 good glue guys, role guys, do whatever you asked, only about the team, only about winning, experience, toughness, defense, attention to detail. So we lost a lot. We lost a lot of good players. Certainly if we get Marquise Reed and Shelton Mitchell and Elijah Thomas, and Amir Sims is kind of in that boat, 3 to 4 starters back, I still think we have a chance to have a really good year with big things happening. But we are going to need some help. We're going to need those guys to continue to play at a really high level. 1 or 2 of them will have to even accelerate their games a little bit. And then we need, one other new guy, whether it's a Javen White, whether it's a John Newman, whether it's A.J. Oliver, Clyde Trapp. We need somebody to kind of come out of the weeds a little bit with a big season if we're going to do the kind of special things we did last year.
You mentioned the development of Gabe and how he developed through the years, and Eli's a guy that we've seen develop the last 3 years and really get to the point. Is he ready to take that next step and maybe become an all-ACC caliber center?
I would really love to see that. He has worked extremely hard this spring. He's probably had as good a spring as anybody in our program, and what's been so fun about it is his transformation as a man, his transformation as a guy who was an average worker with an average attitude to now somebody that is all in and is competing every day to be his best. He's developing leadership skills now where he's dragging Amir Sims to the gym all the time and really just done a great job with Amir this spring. They're working out together, and we've really put a lot of time in this off season on his shooting. It's the one area of his game that he really just hasn't been very good at, and we need him to become a more 15, 16-foot shooter consistently. He needs to be able to make that shot, and he's put in an incredible amount of time, and I'm super excited for him because of the way he's approached our spring, and looking forward to him having a big year.
Last question, Terrence Oglesby really kind of went above and beyond with his trying to make sure DeMontez got his degree for his family and all. Can you talk about that and what that meant to have a guy now who's going to be on your staff as a graduate assistant and do that?
What's special about the whole thing is, Terrence and I had talked about it a lot. He used to come back and sit in my office and talk to me about DeMontez and my first year here. And, there's some times I think where Terrence feels bad that he didn't stay. And then he's like, daggum, I didn't realize what I probably was doing, and I was immature and this, that, and the other. And, I think he would have enjoyed playing with us. And he obviously had a kinship with DeMontez. And, we've talked about this on and on for the last, several months about the possibility of DeMontez graduating. And, I talked to some folks on campus. He kind of grabbed the bull by the horns, took it on campus, and met with a couple of folks. And, thankfully the folks on campus were really good about it. He was so close. I think it was 5 hours. And so he helped push it through. He was the guy that really just kind of made sure. And I think what's special about that to me is you have a former teammate looking out for another one. Mm-hmm. And here you got Terrence coming back, realizing that it's significant in his life that he needs to earn his degree. He's got young children now, and one of the things that pushed him was knowing that when they get old enough to know what a degree means, he'll be able to tell them he has one. And I think we all felt like that's what we wanted for DeMontez with his young daughter when she gets to that age. So really a cool story when you see a teammate kind of help get another guy through.
Coach, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll have more from ACC Spring Meetings on the Clemson Insider.